Bible prophecy is active and unfolding daily. Zechariah 12, Isaiah 17, Psalm 83, Ezekiel 38. Here is what the LameStream Media is not telling you.
Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's newscast. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, told the Security Council last week regarding the Iranian-backed militias in southern Syria who launched a drone into Israeli territory that Iran was once again doing what it does, risking conflict and testing the will of its neighbors and opponents to resist its aggression. She said, quote, "On every front of this conflict in Syria, we find fighters imported by Iran from Lebanon, Iraq, and Afghanistan. When we see the Assad regime starving civilians in eastern Ghouta or pummeling schools and hospitals in Idlib, we see advisors from Iran and Hezbollah helping direct those atrocities. The drone flight this week is a wake-up call for all of us. Iran and Hezbollah are making plans to stay in Syria. It's hard to see how a peace process will work while the Assad regime continues to launch all-out attacks against the Syrian people and Iran and Hezbollah are entrenching themselves inside the country." Close quote. Then from the Jewish Voice, Jewish students and staff were among the 17 people killed when an expelled student entered a high school in Parkland, Florida last Wednesday and began shooting. 35-year-old geography teacher Scott Bagel died protecting his students. Now, Brad Scott will be with us this Thursday. It's not yet confirmed. I tried calling him today, but he's out having good times with his wife, Carol. But I'll be in touch with him before then, and I'm pretty sure he'll be there this Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, live stream. Also, don't miss this Saturday's Sitting in the Word, my friends. I've got 3 MP3 songs for you to download free. And these 3 are of the duo I told you I had with David Wood back in the early 70s. Someone said, please. I was saying I remember this session, and as it turned out, there was one song that was, I don't know what happened. And ironically, it was the song that had us pulled in for the Smothers Brothers summer replacement show on NBC television. It was this one song that, we did a really an especially good set at the Pasadena Ice House that night, and then we closed with this one song that was always our killer closer, and the audience really went wild. And these 2 guys, these 2 agents, they came running into our dressing room after we got off stage. But unfortunately, it was that one killer song that for some reason, I don't know, we weren't on. But there's these 3 songs I have for you. I'll tell you the details about them this Saturday, and I'll have links for you to download them this Saturday under the Sitting in the Word video. And I'm sure that you're really going to enjoy these. I know they threw me for a loop. When I heard them, I forgot. You know, I in fact, I have to retract one thing I said about us as a duo. I said, you know, the two of us had as much power of the harmonies thing going on as Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young did put together. I retract that. That's not the case, because, you know, one harmony over the lead vocal is not quite, cannot be compared to 3 or even 2 harmonies over the lead vocal. But what we did have that I don't believe Crosby, Stills, and Nash or Young had was our voices. There was just a match. In fact, it reminds me of the Everly Brothers. Now, these are 2 brothers, you know, born of the same blood, you know, and their vocal cords are designed very similar, you know, so their voices were a beautiful match. Well, strangely enough, me and David Wood had that vibrancy, and it's pretty exciting. You'll hear it. Now, turning to wars and rumors of wars, on Saturday, February 10th, from the New York Times, that's Saturday last week, soon after Israel shot down the Iranian drone that had entered Israeli airspace, Israeli jets blew up the drone's command and control center at Tias Air Base in Syria, along with the Iranians manning the center. The Israeli bombardment had been dangerously close to Russian forces at the airbase. And while Israel maintains a limited tactical coordination channel with Russia in order to prevent clashes between Israeli and Russian forces in Syria, this has not led Russia to understand Israel's strategic needs. A senior Israeli military source said that the Russians could have prevented the launch of the drone, but they didn't do a thing about it. Then from AFP, Guardian, UK, 15 Russians employed in Syria by a private security company were killed after an explosion rocked the company's weapons storage facility at Tabia Jazira in Deir ez-Zor province. Things are certainly escalating, my friends, in, I'm sure, more ways than I'm even able to report today. There's a lot of things going on. Looks like Netanyahu, he's maybe getting busted for some things. And look, you know, I've said before, I admire Prime Minister Netanyahu. When he speaks, I know that nobody's writing his speeches, and when he speaks, there's so much what appears to be integrity, and he just comes out with, you know, a wonderful assemblage of words. But the man is a politician. He's also a non-believing Jew, and they are blinded in part until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. But just being a politician, look, you know, anyone who is living the life of a politician is in love with the world. And we know that Yahweh's word says those who love the world hate Elohim. They're certainly against Elohim, whether they realize it or not. You know, Trump can say he loves God all he wants, but his love of the world supersedes any love for the Father and the Word. And, you know, you can't expect these people to do anything that isn't dark. Turning to our Intifada update on Monday, February 12th, from Ynet News, 2 IDF soldiers, a man and a woman, were attacked by a mob of M&Ms who encircled their military vehicle after they accidentally entered the West Bank city of Jenin. Palestinian police helped rescue them. Then on Tuesday, February 13th, from AFP Gulf News Dubai, the head of the powerful Iraqi militia Harakat al-Nujaba pledged to stand alongside its Lebanese ally Hezbollah if a new war breaks out with Israel. Both Harakat al-Nujaba and Hezbollah are backed by, you guessed it, the big dog, Iran. Then on Wednesday, February 14th, from Haaretz, 3 M&Ms bearing 4 pipe bombs were caught by military police outside an army courthouse in the West Bank a day after an M&M was caught in the same place with a similar bomb. Then on Saturday, February 17th, from Haaretz, 4 Israeli soldiers were wounded, 2 seriously, when a device exploded at the border fence with Gaza. The IDF struck 6 Hamas targets in Gaza in response. Then from the Times of Israel, a rocket fired by M&Ms in Gaza hit the roof of a house in an Israeli border community on Saturday night, causing significant damage. And from Ynet News, IDF strikes in Gaza on Saturday night in response to the attack near the border fence, which wounded 4 Israeli soldiers, hit high-quality targets serving Hamas military forces, including an attack tunnel. The Popular Resistance Committees, which planted the explosive device, used civilian protests at the fence, which have been occurring every Friday, to mask the placing of the device. The protesters left an M&M flag on a pole at the fence. The pole was filled with explosives that wounded members of the bomb disposal unit and others. In the new reality, every object placed along the fence has the potential of being an explosive device. Now, looking at our review of last week's news, Iran continues risking conflict and testing the will of its neighbors and opponents to resist its aggression. Soon after Israel shot down the Iranian drone that had entered Israeli airspace last week, Israeli jets blew up the drone's command and control center at Tias Air Base in Syria, along with the Iranians manning the center. 15 Russians employed in Syria by a private security company were killed after an explosion rocked the company's weapons storage facility at Tabia Jazira in Deir ez-Zor province. 2 IDF soldiers, a man and a woman, were attacked by a mob of M&Ms who encircled their military vehicle after they accidentally entered the West Bank city of Jenin. The head of the powerful Iraqi militia Harakat al-Nujaba, backed by the big dog Iran, pledged to stand along Hezbollah if a new war breaks out with Israel. 3 M&Ms bearing 4 pipe bombs were caught by military police outside an army courthouse in the West Bank, just one day after an M&M was caught in the same place with a similar bomb. 4 Israeli soldiers were wounded, 2 of them seriously, when a device exploded at the border fence with Gaza. The IDF struck 6 Hamas targets in Gaza in response. A rocket fired by M&Ms in Gaza hit the roof of a house in an Israeli border community, causing significant damage. And IDF strikes in Gaza in response to the attack near the border fence hit high-quality targets serving Hamas military forces, including an attack tunnel. And that, my friends, is what the LameStream Media is not telling you. Abba willing, I'll see you here again next week. Until then, keep your wicks trimmed and keep your lamps burning bright. Shalom, my friends.
Crowded rooms, I need more space than I consume. Enough is time alone with you, underneath a naked moon, sharing confidential moods and making chatter. Mockingbird nocturnal sings notations of eternal things, entering the quantum breeze, flying not for want of wings. He lights his gaze on you and me, simply because we matter.